What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes. And earlier today we talked about changes, bug fixes, things like this. However, there's one thing that didn't pop up on my original device that now finally is, and is on my mobile device as well. This might make you actually reinstall Idle Heroes, or at least do an update from the App Store. A lot of times, yeah, I can't remember the last time I need an update from the App Store. It's always just in-game. But today, there is something new out there, DH Games User Registration Service Agreement. I'm pretty sure most of you guys can already guess what this is for. This is to try to fight, I think, against Starry Gem selling, botting, Starry Gem farmers, like the people that just make accounts over and over and try to get Starry Gems to sell. There's a lot in this user agreement, and it's basically either you agree or disagree. If you disagree, you never play the game again. If you agree, you keep playing. There's not much to it. It's a lot like many games' terms of service that you sign for. So this is going to be an extremely crazy long document. Like, I'll literally throw it on screen for you right here real quick. Let me put it right up on top here. I'm gonna show you guys before we even deep dive into it. This is what the new terms of service has. Like, it's small font, there's a lot to it, but there's a few things I really want to touch on with this so you guys are aware what it is. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. Let's jump right into it. So let's kind of break this down because there's a lot here. I'm going to zoom in just so that it's like a bigger font for us to actually read. There's a couple section here that really is something to talk about, and it really comes down to the virtual items and virtual currency. So it says DH Games owns and has licensed or otherwise has rights to all content appearing in the game, as always, including virtual items and virtual currencies. They're mainly talking about Starry Gems at this point. Virtual items and virtual currency are provided solely for your personal entertainment use. They may not be used in DH Games application or third-party mobile applications, and they have no real-world value. By purchasing or receiving virtual items or currency, all that you receive is a limited license to use them in the game. Virtual items and currency are not your personal property. You don't own them, nothing like that. The prices for the amounts and kinds of virtual currency may be changed at any time without notice as well. This is basically just going along the lines of saying that these Starry Gems don't actually have a real world value, and I feel like that is probably like a legality type thing, so that it's not a tradable currency, because, you know, third-party currencies is like a regulated type thing. Virtual items and virtual currency may never be redeemed for real world goods, money, wares, merchandise, services, or anything else from DH Games or other persons. That's probably why way back in the day I was like, hey, can I get some Starry Gems? And like, no, you absolutely cannot. So this is the first part where they're basically saying this is what the virtual currency is and the definition of it. The one part of this we did skip over that I want to talk about second is this part here. It says you cannot sell or transfer or attempt to sell or transfer virtual items or virtual currencies, except only that were allowed you can exchange within services of the game, third-party apps, blah, blah, blah. Real world money, tradable items, or any other tradable items of monetary value is paid or given to for tradable items. Any other purported attempt is strictly prohibited. So this part right here is the part saying that the first part was like, yeah, this is a virtual currency, it has no real world value, and then it says strictly you cannot sell or transfer these items. So that right there is something that maybe that means they're going to start tracking in game. I'm not really sure what that necessarily looks like, because I have seen people's accounts banned that have been sold. So I think they do track where, like, you know, accounts are logged in from. Minus, of course, when I jump on people's accounts to look at stuff, it's more of a, hey, it used to be at this IP address, now it's on the other side of the world at this IP address. That becomes an issue. I'm sure they have way of looking at logs and seeing people sending large sums of Starry Gems to other people, and they can kind of assume what it is, so long as they didn't also have, like, you know, an auction house deal or something going on just to guarantee purchase of the item. But this basically straight out says you cannot sell, transfer, or attempt to sell or transfer any virtual items or currency, aka Starry Gems. Now, the other part I want to talk about here is the general prohibitions. There's a lot of things in here, like, you know, you can't have pornographic, vulgar, obscene stuff, but This here is down the bottom. Using cheats, exploit, bots, hacks, or third-party softwares designed to gain an advantage will be kind of, you know, strictly looked at. Abuse of exploits and bugs, credit card scamming, chargebacks, all that fun stuff. But I really want to talk about the use, cheats, exploits, bots, or mods. I don't necessarily think this means using a third-party app like BlueStacks that you can make a macro controller on. I don't think that's what they're talking about because, you know, sometimes it's just easier to power through things like campaign and everything, which is pushing all the way through with that power of just over and over and over. This is, I think, specifically targeted towards the accounts that are Starry Gem farmers. So people that are just creating account after account after account on server, and they're just doing these specific grind patterns to get Starry Gems to hopefully do an awakening, hit something big that they can then sell in the auction house, and then they can sell those Starry Gems. So I think that's specifically what it's talking about, but I will get clarity to make sure they're not talking about any type of like auto tapper on phones or macros on BlueStacks or anything along those lines. So we know they now put it in verbiage down into a terms of service, and like I said, we now have to literally hit the agree button here when we go in. And yes, I've read and agreed to this. I remember we used to have this way back in the day too. Maybe this is just gonna be something we have from now on. It's just always showing at the bottom. We'll have to see, but that does mean that they are aware of the issue, and a lot of the changes that they've done in game, mainly things like, you know, these non-auctionable bound item resonance, not getting B+ zones, they've been done to try to combat those Starry Gem farmers. So the fact that they're taking action on them is kind of a good thing, because then free to play and low spenders will have probably better access to really good things in game. There is going to be one change though, I think. And I think the change that we're going to notice is prices on the auction house might fluctuate a bit depending on what's going on, because as it stands right now, if you guys didn't know anything about the black market, it's people basically selling stuff on the auction house, and then they have a ton of Starry Gems and they want to sell it to somebody else, and based on supply and demand, where the supply is very high right now, demand isn't quite as high, it regulates the price. Typically you could get like 2,500 Starry Gems, which typically, you know, would cost you what? 2,500 is $100. Yep, that would cost you maybe a fifth of the cost through a black market connection. Which, yeah, sure, that's cool and all, but sounds like that's not allowed anymore. And whether or not they're going to take action on accounts that are seen doing that now that you have actually signed something, because before trading accounts, that was against like the terms of service and everything. Now they're making it so trading Starry Gems is against the term of service. Until we see someone do it and get banned for it, I can't say whether or not it is a thing or not, but I do want to make sure you're aware, because we have talked about the black market. I know a lot of people that have been using that type of service, and I want to make sure you guys are very, very aware of it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I want to make that painfully clear, let you guys know. I'll see you guys next time.